AITA for getting a married woman pregnant and not telling her husband? I am in relationship with a married woman, and currently, she got pregnant. She was pretty sure it's mine and wanted to hide away the truth from her husband. Should I let him know? I am 19, have been seeing this woman, F36, for a few months now. She's married with 3 kids, a 17-year-old son and 15-year-old twin daughters. It started out as a fling, but things got serious quickly. She told me she was in a rough patch with her husband, but I didn't expect things to go as far as they did. Recently, she found out she's pregnant, and it's mine. She's pretty sure of that because her and her husband haven't been intimate in a long time. Instead of coming clean to her husband, she's decided that he's just going to raise the baby as his own by sleeping with him for a month or 2, and claims it's his, and she doesn't plan on telling him the truth. She says he'll just assume it's his, and it'll be easier for everyone this way. Part of me feels guilty for being involved in this at all, but another part of me wonders if it's my responsibility to say something. The idea of someone else raising my kid without knowing the truth doesn't sit right with me, but if I come forward, I could blow up her whole family and cause chaos for her kids, who don't deserve this. I don't know if I should let her handle things her way, or if I should come clean to her husband, AITA, for even considering telling him. Top comments. Commenter: you're being groomed, my dude. A 36-year-old has nothing in common with a 19-year-old. She knows this. There is a reason she is going after you rather than an adult her age. Tell the husband, ditch this relationship and get yourself some therapy. Commenter: 5 years younger than me is my limit as a 31-year-old. Can't be to close in age to my baby sister. Makes it feel weird. I top out at 9 above me because I just feel weird at the thought of bringing home someone closer in age to my mom than me. I could never imagine having a kid and dating someone who could be their classmate. Commenter: you tell the husband he deserves to know. Plus, if he ever finds out in the future, he can file suit against you. She is just afraid he will divorce her, and she has most likely been lying to you the whole time. You should never get involved either, married women. Story 2. AITA for telling my friend that I'm sorry her parents don't love her as much as mine love me. I, 22F, have a friend named Amy, 22F, who I met in college. Currently, we are in our last semester of college. I live alone, but she shares her apartment with 2 other people. We never really spoke about our finances much, but I know that both of our parents currently pay our rent. The issue started when we talked about our future plans. I told her that I'm probably going to get a job and do my master's at the same time so that I can save up a little, but also to finally have my own money to spend on some things that I love and to travel. She laughed at me and asked me what kind of salary I expect while working part-time to be able to afford all that. I shrugged and said I didn't have any expenses that I'd need to cover really, just food. And that's it. She looked shocked and asked me about rent and stuff, and I said my parents will be paying for it. She then went on a rant about becoming an adult, how she can't wait to be independent, how she doesn't want to take money from her parents and stuff like that. For the most part, I tried to nod my head and listen to her, but then she said something like, I'd feel like a bad daughter if I were you, and that really made me feel embarrassed. My parents want to pay for my apartment. They can easily afford it, and I'm not the type of person to be ungrateful for it. I spend a lot of time with them. I know they don't lack money for anything. They travel, own their house, have a good retirement plan. They don't mind paying for me, and I don't mind taking it. We have a good relationship. I know this won't be forever, and I don't expect it to be. Just a few years until I finish my degree and get a higher paying job. I got annoyed and told her to drop it. We can talk about something else. But she continued talking about how her parents want her to be a real adult, how I'll never want to be ambitious unless I struggle in just more and more nonsense. Not sure how important it is, but between the 2 of us, my grades are significantly better, and I'm a few exams ahead of her in terms of passing this semester. I just cut her off and said, well, I don't know. Maybe my parents love me more than yours love you, so they want to pay. I'm sorry for that. Can we now talk about something else? We didn't talk since, and I do feel bad because I know that love has nothing to do with money, and looking back, it's such a rude thing to say, but I just said it to shut her up because she was insulting me and calling me spoiled for no reason. I wasn't even the one to start this conversation, nor did I probe into her finances. She was the one who kept it going. Ever since that day, I feel a pit in my stomach, and I really didn't want to insult her. Info, edit. Just adding some stuff because I feel like it may be relevant. I feel like Amy's intention wasn't genuine because she currently accepts her parents paying rent, food, utilities, everything. So do I. The conversation was about after college. I mentioned my academic success because she said I will never be ambitious when I try really hard. We also don't live in the USA, and parents' support isn't so uncommon. And lastly, while this may not convince people, I really do appreciate my parents and everything they do for me. I don't plan to leech on them, and this is something they know, and that's what matters to me. Relevant comments. Commenter: ESH. You are definitely an AH for saying such a thing. Money does not equal love, ever. That said, she was an AH for not dropping the subject earlier and trying to make you feel like you were taking advantage of your parents. Both of you have loving parents. They may not have the same amount of money, but besides that, they can have different ideas about the best ways to support your careers and lives. In this case, since you do have better grades, you are perhaps a better candidate for a master's program, which in the long run will make continuing to support you a good investment. She may want to continue her education, but her parents have decided they will not support her past her bachelor's. That doesn't mean they don't love her as much. They may have limited funds, note she has roommates to reduce expenses, or they may rightly believe she's not a good candidate for an advanced degree. But you have to see that she is trying to reconcile her situation and yours without thinking her parents don't love her. Certainly there are students who want to stay in college at their parents' expense for as long as possible and avoid having to take care of themselves financially. I don't think that applies to either of you. Commenter, and I presume that if OP's parents change their minds and decide to no longer pay her rent by her own logic, then that proves they don't love her either. Commenter, that's not her logic though. Toward the bottom, she admits it was the wrong thing to say because love doesn't equal money. She said that in the heat of the moment. She also says she is aware her parents footing her rent is temporary, so she seems aware. It was absolutely not cool to say, but the friend wouldn't shut up about it after OP repeatedly asked to drop the subject and was the one to bring up their finances to begin with. Friend definitely the AHOP only slightly. We've all said things we regret during an argument. Story 3. AITA for punishing my foster daughter for telling the authorities my 12-year-old daughter was taking drugs. If you have already read the first post, you can skip to the update. Here is the first post. I, 34F, have been looking after my foster daughter, Mary, 13F, for over a year, ever since her parents overdosed on drugs. I also have a biological daughter, Lila, 12F. Mary and Lila mostly get along, although there have been some minor arguments. A few weeks ago, the police came to Lila's school. Someone had sent an anonymous message to the school saying that Lila was in possession of drugs. After searching through her phone, locker, and bags, they realized that the drugs in question were Skittles that Lila had lying around in her bag, accidentally ripping open the packaging. Lila was terrified of the police and was traumatized by the incident. She's a very shy, quiet girl who had a panic attack at the thought of being sent to prison. While they wouldn't reveal who told on her, Lila suspected that it was Mary since she was the only one who could have seen the Skittles in her bag. Mary denied this at first, but eventually she snapped under pressure and admitted it. She said she made a mistake and was scared that Lila would overdose like her parents. I know that Mary has trauma related to drugs, but that's not an excuse. I've made it very clear that she can come talk to me about anything, even if it involves Lila, and yet she went to the school instead of telling me first. Mary said that she only went to the school in case I was biased towards Lila. She knew full well the legal ramifications of her actions. Both of them could have potentially been removed from my care. I can't help but think her intentions are malicious. Skittles look absolutely nothing like drugs. She didn't even talk to me or Lila about it. She just went straight to the authorities, so I decided to ground her, stop her allowance, increase her chores, and take away her electronics for the entire summer. She's still upset with me for this, saying I went too far, and I was punishing her for having trauma and trying to do the right thing. But I feel like I have a duty to teach her that it's not okay to potentially get our entire family into legal trouble over a misunderstanding. AITA? Edit. The reason I thought she had malicious intentions was because the week before, Mary coincidentally started a large argument with Lila for hanging out with Mary's crush. Lila eats candy all the time, especially Skittles, and Mary knows that Skittles are her favorite. Relevant comments. Commenter. I'm tempted to say YTA, bordering on nay-H. I think that Mary's reasoning is fairly sound. She's a kid who's deeply traumatized by experiences in her own life with people using drugs, and it's very, very hard for a 13-year-old to conceptualize the repercussions for something like this. If she was acting out of malice, that's one thing, but I think it's pretty hard for anyone online to be able to say if that's the case. That said, I do think your punishment is extreme. I think this is a great opportunity to have more heart-to-hearts with Mary and help her learn how serious this could have been. Is she already in therapy? I assume she must be as a foster child with her history, but if not, she absolutely should be. Additionally, if Mary was exacting out of jealousy or some other feelings around your bio daughter, layering on punishments may just make that separation worse. Do they generally get along well? Are they close? Or more distant? Mary is going through an immense amount of loss and change, and her feelings toward your daughter are likely very complicated, even if they're generally close and friends. I think it would be reasonable to lighten up your punishments while also checking in with her more regularly and emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. Depending on the quality of your caseworkers, you may want to discuss with them as well. Commenter. Yeah, this is more something OP needs to discuss further with Mary's therapist than anything, and will hopefully result in the punishments getting dialed back and a sincere apology to Lila. If the situation really is bad enough that Mary did report her maliciously, then the likely approach needs to be getting her assigned to foster parents without another kid involved. OP should not compromise the safety of one kid to help another. Commenter, what would motivate her to be malicious? You stated that they get along fine and only argue occasionally, which is very normal for kids. OP, the week before the whole drugs incident, they got into an argument because Lila was hanging out with Mary's crush, although Mary swears this was just a coincidence. Lila eats candy all the time and Skittles are her favorite, and Mary knows this full well. Update. After receiving thousands upon thousands of comments, I would like to say that I realized my mistake. I wasn't taking into account the immense amount of trauma that Mary has gone through at such a young age, and the effect it had on her actions. I had a tough but necessary conversation with both Lila and Mary. We had a heart-to-heart so that both girls could hear from each other's perspectives. What had happened was, Mary found out that Lila had been hanging out with a boy that Lila knew was Mary's crush. This was also the 1-year anniversary of Mary's parents' overdose, and she confessed that her grief coupled with what she interpreted as Lila's betrayal influenced what happened the following week. Mary maintains that she'd mistaken the candy for drugs, but she owned up to the fact that she'd notified the teachers, not only because she was concerned for Lila's safety, but because she believed that it wasn't fair for Lila to get away unpunished for having drugs after everything that had happened to Mary's parents. I know I should have been angry at Mary, but seeing the response to my initial post has opened my eyes. I've been informed that traumatized children can lose their common sense after being exposed to triggers. I assume this applies even more when it occurs around the 780th anniversary of their trauma, and this can lead them to make decisions that may sound outlandish in any other circumstances. Decisions such as mistaking candy for drugs. Mary has had bad experiences in foster homes before. Several years before her parents' overdose, she was placed in foster care for the first time before being reunited with her parents. She was in 3 different foster families, and in all of them, her foster parents favored their biological children, and they punished Mary if she told them about their bio children misbehaving. She was terrified that I would do the same, which is why she didn't come to me first. Mary acted out of pain, and I acted out of frustration without even hearing her side of the story. I lifted Mary's punishment. At that point, we still had nearly 3 weeks of summer break left. Lila has forgiven Mary, and we decided to put this incident behind us. Being a foster parent can be challenging, but I will be doing everything I can to learn from this situation and be a better mother moving forward. Top comments. Commenter, IDK. I think she might be lying a bit about her parents being the motivation here, and not the boy. Also, are you sure your daughter has forgiven her and not just lost confidence in your ability, desire to protect her from Mary? What are you doing to protect your daughter if Mary tries something like this again? Commenter, thank you, thought I just got out the plane to Bizarre World. The daughter has to suck it up because Mary had a sad backstory. What about next time? Plus it seems that the problems they have with each other are still present. Commenter, I remember OP's original post, and a lot of people were trying to point out that Mary might have other reasons, but were getting overruled. It's kind of sad because I think that now OP has overcorrected to the opposite side. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest one. Have a great day.